Hey friends, it's Jennifer and welcome back to the Real Knitting Podcast. I'm so glad you decided to join me. Let's get into the knitting real quick. This that I am wearing is the Love Note by Tin Can Knits. Stand up, it's cropped, a little lower in the back. The lace opened up beautifully. You can kind of see it's like this leafy look to it. And I did 3/4 length sleeves, and I did mine with a little bit of bell to them so I can wear shirts, long sleeve shirts under them. But typically I wear it like this, like just over a tank top. I used Universal Yarns Deluxe DK Tweed, and the Love Note calls for a fingering weight and a mohair held together, but that kind of makes a DK. So I used the DK to simplify things and also to kind of cut the cost down, because when you hold two yarns together, it's like double the cost almost. But what is amazing is that I only used 3 skeins. This is the terracotta colorway. So you start like right down here, and you cast on a provisional cast on, and you work down, gathering up all the lace. And this lace section goes really quickly. I'm not much of a lace knitter. I get confused. I get confused really easily, so I'm not a big lace knitter, but this was a pretty simple lace, and I was really happy with it. And then it's just not far until you're done. And I'm really tall, so I actually used quite a bit more. Like, this is a lot longer than a lot of your Love Notes would need to be. Because I'm 5'9", so I add length to pretty much everything. I love this sweater. I will definitely be knitting another Love Note at some point because it's just pretty and I wear it a lot. Be sure to stay till the end. We're going to do, just like last time, we're going to do a little bit of yoga for knitters, and then I have a giveaway. Yay! More about that in a minute. So let's move right into some more knitting. The next thing I have to show you is my portage sweater. I've been showing this one on the podcast. It's living in my yarn as part of a high fiber diet bag from KnitPicks. This was a gift from my mom. A lot of my yarn stuff is a gift from my mom because she loves being creative as well. So in here I have my portage sweater. I'm knitting it on size 5 KnitPicks in the rainbow needles, the interchangeables. And I can do a review on these at some point if you'd like, let me know. And then the portage, I did one before in a fuzzy tweedy yarn, and I didn't do the texture, but I'm really pleased with the way this texture is coming along. And I haven't made a ton of progress on this because I do have to pay attention to the texture. But I did get below where you split for the sleeves. There's a little bitty cable that you do right there, and then stockinette on the front. My first portage, I did the back all stockinette, and because of the texture actually pulls in the knitting quite a bit, and so what I was left with in the other one, the back was really too wide. Now I still wear it, but it's kind of sloppy, kind of slouchy. I still wear it because it's cozy and warm and soft, but I think I'm going to be real pleased with this one. This is Holstgarn. I showed last time I have this massive cone of Holstgarn Super Soft. They had a sale a few years ago, and I loaded up. I have a lot. You may see this. You may see like every sweater I own being in Holstgarn Super Soft just because I have so much. But right now, it's a really crunchy yarn, really rusty yarn, and that's because the spinning oils are still in this. When you wash this yarn, it's going to bloom. So it's going to fluff and fill out and get softer. So it's gonna be beautiful. But right now, it looks kind of weird because it almost looks like it's too loose of a gauge. But trust me, my gauge swatch turned out beautiful, and it's going to be nice and smooth when it's all done. So I'm just below, it's a top down, and then you do this great big huge collar all the way around. But I'm just below where you divide for the sleeves. I have my sleeves on the waist yarn. Yeah, pretty happy with that. To keep it a little bit more organized inside the bag, I have it in my KnitPicks yarn ball. And that just kind of keeps it corralled. It keeps the yarn cake from coming apart. And you can see there's my Holstein cake. La la la, so pretty. And I just wound this cake off of the giant cone. So we're putting that back down in there. All the strings. This one can go with me here and there, but it really requires a little bit more brain power than I usually like to do when I'm out on the go. But it's perfect for watch Netflix or whatever when you're just kind of half paying attention. Next, I showed you guys this one before. I've showed it a couple times, I think. The green hat. The green hat. So here's the green hat. And it's got just a really simple texture down here at the bottom. And I had started doing cables going all the way up in the crown of the hat. This one's for one of my littles. And what happened though was I haven't even caught all the stitches. I just ripped it out. I got so irritated. Knitting should be fun, y'all. If it's not fun, it gets ripped. So I am a DPN girl, and I have just decided to embrace the fact that I heart DPNs, and I'm just going to stay there. Because I tried to do the 2 circular thing. Not saying there's anything wrong with that. It's just not me. I got so confused as to where I moved my cables and all that sort of thing. I'm just way happier on my DPNs. These are a KnitPicks. I believe they are a size 6. These are the Dreams. They're either a 5 or a 6, I think. The Dreams are color coded, and I'll link those below. Oh, excuse me, nose itchy. And then the yarn, I'm still so in love with this yarn. Kay, if you're watching this, I love this yarn. This is a 75/25 Tweedy yarn from Kay at Bede Sisters. I believe you can also find her as Blueberry Chick on Etsy. But her podcast is Bede Sisters, and she dyed this yarn, and you can see she's great with tonals. Look at that. And then all the little specks of tweed. It just makes me really happy. This is a hat that I'm designing, and so I had the cables all worked out. I was getting close to the top, and I just got so irritated with those 2 circulars, and I gave up. So I just ripped it back, and again, I haven't even caught all of my stitches. There's some loose live stitches, but because this yarn is 75% wool, it's got a good toothiness to it. So they're just kind of standing up at attention, waiting for me to come back and snag them. No big deal. So there's the little green hat, and it is not given up on. It's still there. It's just going in a little bit of timeout while I work on other things. So I have a new cast on, mostly because portage was taking too much brain. I got irritated with the green hat. So what do? Cast on, as you do. So I cast on, let's talk about the bag real quick. This little bag is a JoJo bag. And it's from Cozy Up Knits. Their mom, Cozy Up Knits is a podcast, and it's 4 sisters out of Canada. And this right here, there's their logo. I'm going to link them below because they're my favorite podcast. I never miss them. And this is their mom, JoJo, and it's a sweet little drawstring bag. It's got got a wrist handle. It's got a reinforced bottom, which I really appreciate. And it's lined in gray, but it has some pockets. Now, I'm not actually using the pockets, but it has them, and we all love pockets, right? So I won this bag a year or two ago. I entered one of their mystery knit-alongs, and it wasn't that my project was extra special. It was just, I think that I posted a lot about it on Instagram, and they drew my name. And so I won this sweet little JoJo bag, and I won the purple and pink yarn that I used for the Lindola shawl. And so those colors are a little bit out of my comfort zone, but they're so beautiful, and I chose them to do the Lindola sweater. They are from Ginger Snap That, and she's Ginger Snap That 1 on Instagram. I'll link her Etsy shop below. Those beautiful colors, and I'll pop in a picture of the Lindola shawl. Somewhere right here. So, in this bag, I have this gorgeous ball of yarn. Yeah, sometimes I hand wind. Like if I don't want to get out the whole shebang and the ball winder and the Swift, sometimes I hand wind. And when I'm doing just one skein, quite often I will hand wind. So this is Diamond Luxury yarn in the Soxy Lady colorway, or Soxy Lady base. I guess it's the Soxy Lady base. I don't know exactly the colorway. I have long since lost the ball band to this, but I know that Soxy Lady does come in different colors. And I am working it on my favorite sock needles. We're gonna look at it. Maybe it's too close. Okay. These are the Carbons, Knitter's Pride Carbons, and these are a size 0. I love these. I just did a review on them for the channel. If you want to see the Carbons, I will link that below. But I have broken so many sock needles because I knit them on fairly small, tight gauge, and so I have not, at least not yet, I have not broken the Carbons. They come in a set of 5, and I have 4 that I'm using. So I've started off, these are going to be socks for my little boy. Mostly because my gauge has tightened up. I think I need to move from a 0 to a 1. So I may need to buy new needles. Shucks, right? So I think I'm gonna have to move up. A 0 is pretty tight. Let's see. Yeah, US 0. So I start off with 68 stitches around, and then I did a 2x2 rib for, I don't know, maybe an inch and a quarter, and then just a few rows of stockinettes. I think 4 rows. Then I have it all in my notes in my phone so that I can actually make them match, because, you know, socks, you kind of want to do 2 of them. So then I'm doing a Eye of Partridge heel, which is like the absolute classic sock heel. So it's knit one, slip one all the way across. Of course, you slip the first stitch of each row. Knit one, slip one going across, then you purl on the back, just purl all the way. Then on the next round, you slip one, knit one all the way across. It's not nearly as hard as it seems. When you first get to try it, it's kind of difficult because you're not used to reading your work. But as you get used to it, and I'll see if I can show, I don't know if you can tell. As you get used to it, you'll see that there's one stitch that's sort of elongated, and then the ones next to it are 2 little baby stitches. And the 2 little baby looking stitches, that's where you knit on the other side, and the elongated stitch is where you slipped. So once you get to where you can read your knitting, all you have to think is at the beginning, am I slipping or knitting on this row for the first stitch? So I'm just going around, and what's funny is that this is why I think my gauge has changed. I have always liked bulletproof socks. Like, if I work on a sock, I want that sucker to last, right? Because I have made socks that didn't last very long. So I like a tight gauge on my socks. So I'm going to push into the stockinette with my thumbnail, and you can see the stitches just barely separate, even with a lot of tension. So there we have it. Basic sock recipe. It's kind of done after the yarn Harlot did in her book, just for her basic sock recipe. So I've got 68 stitches. I knit down however far I want to on the cuff, and then I take half of those, so 34 stitches, and those are going to make up my heel. I come down with the heel flap, then I make the turn, then you pick up the stitches for the gusset and narrow down into the foot. I'm very much a traditionalist like that, because this heel flap and gusset really fits my foot, and if I'm going to put this much work into a sock, I want it to fit perfectly. Now, my friend Mel, she loves the Fish Lips Kiss. I haven't tried that, but let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you like, what heel you like to do with your socks. Do you use a sock recipe, or do you use an actual pattern, or do you just kind of make it up as you go? I'd love to hear, because I'm not a really big sock knitter. I've knit a few pair of socks and I really like it. I just haven't done a whole lot of it. So let me know what heel you like, and I may try your heel at some point. JoJo bag. All right. So I had my last class. So I started my very first beginning knitting class, and it was so much fun. I almost cried when they all left because I hated to see them go. Hopefully they will come back. I'm going to do another class called My First Hat, and hopefully we'll get that on the schedule pretty soon, as well as more beginning classes. But this last night is when we finished up, and here's my little sample. It's a little wrister. And we practiced mattress stitch so we can see. They did in the contrast yarn just so they could see. And then they could go home and redo it in the matching yarn. And then we also practiced weaving in ends in such a way that these are not coming out. We did it like the proper way, I guess. So if you would like to see tutorials on these, I will be getting those up probably next week, because all of my tutorials so far have been following my beginning knitting class. So we started with knitting, then we did purling, and so we're just sort of taking it one step at a time. And so I will have tutorials up on these for them on this channel, but check them out. Maybe they'll help you too. And then we also talked about blocking, and we worked on fixing some mistakes. We need to have a class that is just fixing mistakes. I can fix a lot of things, but I don't know that I feel confident fixing everything. So I'm going to pair with Candace, who owns Yarntiques in Johnson City, and she and I are going to teach that one together. That's my little thing. And the sweetest thing, one of our students ordered some stitch markers. It's the little light bulb ones, and she got like 1,000 of them off of Amazon or whatever, but I will link to those. But because she got so many, she brought quite a few for each of us, so I used the little hot pink ones. Really helps to be able to see. Don't forget to stick around to the end. This is the giveaway. All right, so let's do our yoga. So last week we talked about opening the heart, stretching the chest, and expanding outwards, right? Well, today let's do something for our hands and our forearms. As a yoga therapist, one of the things that I have found is that a lot of the pain in our hands comes from the forearm, the upper arm, the shoulder, or even up into the neck. It's sometimes it's the actually the joint, but a lot of times we can help take the strain off the joints by working on the muscles. So let's stretch our forearms. We're going to put the hand out like this, and we're going to grab those fingers and push, yeah, and pull the fingers way back. Now, I have freaky joints. Don't be creeped out. Yours doesn't have to do this. But as I pull back, I'm stretching all the way down through here, down the bottom of the forearm. And then I can follow it up and stretch this way. So I'm going to grab the fingers, straighten the arm, and pull the fingers toward my elbow. Yeah, let's do the other side. So scoot around a little bit. So we're putting the hand out, fingers up, and I'm just going to pull the fingers back, stretching under the forearm. Make sure to breathe while you do this. And then we're going to bring fingers down and pull this way. Yeah. And again, I have freaky joints, so don't worry about getting as deep as me. But wherever gets a stretch for your forearms. All right, a little bit of life stuff, and then we'll get into the giveaway. Feel free to skip ahead. I'm intending to put chapters in this week, so you can check out the chapters and scoot ahead if you like. Just a couple of fun life things. So we are getting closer to adopting our second child. We call him John, so we've had baby John since he was 3 days old. I got him straight out of the hospital. We are foster parents. We adopted our first child out of foster care, and we're going again. And he has been an absolute joy. Both of them have. I feel like I'm too old for a newborn. I am tired. I'm so tired because now I'm about to turn 45 and I have a toddler. He will be 2 in July, and we're going to adopt him this summer. It's finally come through. His sweet mama was nice enough to surrender him in January, and she and I have a really good relationship, so pretty happy about that. And then our big boy, he went to church camp with my husband last weekend for the teen retreat. Now, he's just 7, so he wasn't a camper. He was a little helper for Daddy. Daddy was a maintenance guy. And I got to see the sweetest video. So remember, this is a group of all teenagers and adults and just a few little kids. My little 7-year-old led singing at church camp. I cried like a baby. I saw the video. I cried like a baby. First of all, he was an adoption out of the foster care system as well. We got him at 3 weeks old. But he was a sick little baby. He ended up having a surgery, a feeding tube. We had in-home nursing. We had all sorts of things. The doctors were not sure he would do very well. And there's a lot I could say about that, but that was a very hard time. But he's amazing. He's healthy now. Feeding tube came out when he was 4, but to see him be so strong and so brave to stand up in front of all of those grown-ups and lead singing just made my mama heart so happy. It's allergy season in Tennessee, and so I have the little scratchy throat and the little sinus headache, and I'm telling you, I could sleep. I think I could go to sleep today and sleep for a week and just wallow around in bed and not move. But it's so pretty that I want to be outside. We had a few days last week that were up into the 80s, and now it's just getting into the 60s, so it's like perfect Southern California weather right now. It's really nice, but everything is blooming, and so I think everybody in Tennessee has a little sniff, just a little sniffle. Last week I put out the Lindola shawl, and it's live on Ravelry and Etsy and my website, mountainlegacydesigns.com, and I'll try to pop a picture in here. But that that shawl is so easy and so mindless, but it makes this big border ruffle, and the ruffle is really what makes the shawl. And my mother-in-law loves it. She wears it to church. She's got a bright purple uh, suit, like a lady's suit with a skirt, and she wears that shawl and loves showing it off. And that just, she's so knit worthy. It makes me really happy. So now that that's out, I really don't have any designs that are ready for test knitting. I've kind of stepped back off of designing just for a little while, just while I learn this YouTube stuff. Because even though I don't do a lot of editing, there's a lot to do to put up a YouTube podcast. If nothing else, I have to get on lights and stuff. And moms, you will know this, I have to move all the toys so that I have a place to set everything. So that I can podcast without all of the toys in the background. But I will be making, I've got a vest on the needles that I'm designing, and I've got the little hat on the needles that I'm designing, and who knows what else we'll come up with. Also getting ready to teach a few more knitting classes. Excited about that. This Saturday is local yarn shop day, LYS day. So check out your local yarn shop. See if you can get over there and get in on some of the excitement. Our yarn shop's going to do a knit night and some discounts and things, and it's just a lot of fun. So now it's time for our giveaway. I've been stash diving. So last time I talked about, okay, I have all these subscribers. If we get to 300 subscribers, I'll do a giveaway. Well, we didn't. And that's okay. Subscribers on YouTube are really just sort of a vanity metric anyway, so whatever. We have 225, and I am calling that a win. So I'm giving away this Osterman. Let's see if we can see. And then there's the socks. It is a self-patterning ball of yarn, and I had 2 balls of this, and I made my dad some socks out of this yarn. He loves them. So it has the aloe in them, so it's good for your feet when you're wearing them, but it's also nice to help moisturize your hands when you're knitting it. And this is 75%, where'd it go? 75% superwash wool and 25% nylon, so perfect for socks. And it does this little blippy thing that almost looks like Fair Isle when you knit it up. Now, my dad's feet are really narrow but long, and I still ended up with a pretty significant ball left over. So I may be able to make some little kid socks out of leftovers. This is 100 grams, but it seems like it makes a lot more. Let me see if I can tell you. I don't even see on here. I don't see how many grams, but I think it's a 100-gram ball. But it's plenty to make even a full adult pair of socks. So the way that you can win this ball of yarn is just comment in the YouTube comments below. Comment the word socks. Now, I still want to hear what kind of heel you use. I want to hear any comments. I want to hear what would you like me to talk about next. Would you like me to do any more reviews? Any of that sort of thing down in the comments. But if you comment something else, make sure that you also comment the word socks so that I know you want to be in the giveaway. And next time I will draw for this lovely ball of yarn, and I will send it off to you. Now, I'm a very small channel, so chances are there won't be very much competition. So get your name in for the ball of sock yarn. Thank you all for joining me today. Check out my previous podcasts. I'm going to link somewhere to previous podcasts so that you can keep an eye on all the things going on. And please let me know anything that I can do to help you. I appreciate you so much. Thank you. Bye.